Okay, so I found a better workflow for this problem of joining armatures. So I'm gonna select all the bones only from my main rig, and I'll call it like original rig. 0 is because so it stay at the top no matter what. Then on edit mode, in this layer there are only these bones, nothing else hidden. So I'm gonna separate this into a new armature object, and this will be the 2 meta rig. This will be the one that will generate the rig, accessory rig for that. And it's 2 because then I will have the generated rig as 1, but then it will disappear anyways. So, because it will be merged on here. So now, if we pay attention here, only this, the 5th layer has these bones. And then I check here, I have my rig type, so it's ready to generate rig. Okay, so there we go. Now we can rename this. This will be generated rig number 1. Now it goes in the middle. Then we must pay attention to the layers which this contains, and also it will be nice to check here if those layers are free. So if I check the Rigify properties for all those 3 armature objects, the generated rig, it has got no Rigify panel anymore, so it cannot generate rig on its own. The meta rig, it can regenerate rig for this thing, it will substitute those things. And the original rig has got potential for generating rig, but it's not a meta rig since it doesn't contain anymore a rig type. We must be very careful now, because depending on the active armature object that we use for the joining, this will one will have the priority over the other. So the active one, which is highlighted in a lighter color, is the active. So this is confusing, because if I select the generated rig, which I want to put inside the prioritary original rig on my main strategy, I shift click here from the outliner, and you see it's a darker color. So this won't work, because now this is the active. I need to do this on the main region in the 3D viewport to have the selection that I want. And because of course now I need to have this on some layer where there are bones. So let me do this again. So you see this doesn't work. In the outliner it should be the inverse. If I did this, then at least I should shift click here. So it's more intuitive to do it from here anyways. So this is what I want to do. I want to have the generated rig that I've created inside the active one, now the original rig. Now it's correct, and so Control J. So now of course this will break our curve, and so you see that the generated rig, which had number 1, disappeared. So this I can hide, the meta rig. We are not gonna regenerate or use it again for this tutorial. So I go to the curve. I don't need to have it selectable, because we'll go directly in here. And so you see it still has got the old rig, so that's what I need to update. The target for the modifiers, they don't get updated for some reason, and this will have to fix either way of joining the armatures we do, but we have to choose. Do we want to break the the modifiers from the generated rig, which was just the hook modifiers on the curve object, or do we want to break the modifiers for all the objects that we might have in relation to the original rig? Well, of course I prefer to solve it, in this case at least, to solve it here. Let me get this name. I'll just copy this. Then I'll just Ctrl V here everywhere. This should fix the curve, because if you see it's being solved. Look at there. As I update these targets. Okay, so now the curve is working. Now if we want to see what happens on the inverse situation, like I get the generated rig to be the active and to be joined by the original rig. So it will mean this, I need to show some bones. Okay, so that will mean taking this one, the original rig, and shift click select the generated rig and then Ctrl G. And now what happens is that if I try to pose my character, even it was posable, but now you see everything broke. This is horrible, very terrifying, right? And of course the problem is the object modifiers or constraints, I guess, if there were. It's the targets for the modifiers and other features, but essentially the modifiers. So I have to take this, the generated rig, and place it here. So now things go back to normal, but I'm not sure, it's too many. I have too many objects to fix. Then look at this. I'd have to fix everything that were parented originally to that. Yes, so it breaks a lot of things. It's too much stuff to fix. Like I have this boots mesh object, I'll have to retarget. So really too much stuff to do, right? Yes, now it's working, but just one part. I'll have to do it everything else. That if other stuff didn't broke as well. So this is very dangerous, I think. It's not very good, really not optimal. So that's why I'm doing the inverse. Additionally, the generated rig, it doesn't have the ability to generate anything by itself. So it's like a dead end for this, which is not particularly problematic because we can always make this from outside, right? Like create a new armature object, then making it a meta rig, then generating rig, and then adding this to this one. So for a meta rig to be able to generate a rig, it requires to be visible enabling viewports. It needs to be unhidden, visible, and it needs also to be selectable. So then I can regenerate rig because it has these advanced settings. Like here, this name doesn't exist anymore, but it will, like, it's like generating something that new. So it will actually recreate this. So this is interesting, right? It's just recreated that. But then we must be careful, because if I target now the original rig with this, I don't know, why would I do that? Oh, because there is this, on my original rig, you see all the layers it got. I have this, that bone that I want to have that regeneration, right? Okay, let's do it, let's go. And then what happens here, it takes some time, then we go back here and you see all my layers disappeared, all my bones. This completely disrupted my rig. just to gain those things regenerate. So not a very good idea, right?